Hey guys, welcome to Juicy Tea, where I read out the best stories on Reddit, so you don't have to. The funny, shocking, and satisfyingly juicy. Today, we ask Reddit, what are the craziest ways you've heard of people making money? Internet Pillow says, back when Dogecoin took off, I wrote a guide on recovering old lost wallets, and it got so popular, I was flooded with requests for further help. Some corrupted wallet files, some lost passwords, etc. I have a background in computer science and experience in data retrieval and password cracking, so I started helping people in exchange for a percentage cut, industry standard for wallet recovery. All above board with a contract and everything. For a while, I was getting new clients every week and making hundreds up to thousands of dollars on every successful recovery, with a fairly good rate of success. The biggest one I ever recovered was a 19-letter-long password someone had lost. The work dried up when the price of Dodge dropped, but it got me the down payment on a house. Wow, nice! I heard a story about some hacker kid who broke into a bunch of national banks and top 500 companies. And instead of selling the information to the black market, he just sent it privately to the companies with how to close their security gaps. He got hired straight out of high school with no degree or anything to be an ethical hacker with an insane starting salary. It makes sense though. If you've got the proven skills and know-how, what's the piece of paper really worth? Escotarita says, a cabbie in Dublin once told me a story about one of his fares who had a brilliant hustle. The guy was a sculptor. He would watch horse races, then when a horse won, he'd use social media to contact the owner directly with a digital mock-up of a life-size sculpture of the winning horse. Now, the people who own winning racehorses tend to be very rich. We're talking oligarchs and billionaires. Every now and again, one of these owners would bite and spend 100,000 euros or so on a statue commemorating their animal's win. Dude only did a couple a year and spent the rest of the time living the good life. The Wizardry 90 says, about 4 years ago, I noticed we started running out of Ziploc bags quickly every week. Turned out, my 10-year-old at the time was mixing gummy bears and worms with Hispanic spices and Cumway sauce, selling them at school for $5 a bag. She was bringing in about $100 to $150 per week. She is now about to turn 15, and I helped her build her candy business, and she has candies in stores in our city and is still expanding. Accomplished Fig 745 says, in college I took a class on how to start and run a small business. The professor told us to think of a ridiculous business model for our fictitious business, as we'll get more out of the class that way. Stupid ideas ensue. Selling paperclips door to door, refilling car gasoline tanks in people's driveways, a service to read and summarize the newspaper to executives, etc. I feel like that last one's basically what I do. One classmate decided he was going to sell tumbleweed. Guess who quit college and started a successful business? The tumbleweed guy. He takes a van to the desert, collects tumbleweed, and sells them to Hollywood movie and TV studios who need them. He keeps the tumbleweed in a warehouse since they never spoil. His only costs are gasoline, storage, and a website. He eventually became the #1 tumbleweed provider to studios around the world, shipping tumbleweed globally. Made a heap of money selling what millions of people drive by and ignore every year. Surely not. Wouldn't CGI and 3D printing have made this obsolete? Captain Time says, I knew a woman whose job was literally to sleep. A local office building owner wanted someone on site 24/7 to be the point of contact with the first responders if they ever needed to be called. So they hired her to come into the building in the evening when the maintenance crew was finishing their work, and she'd settle up to sleep for the night in her bedroom that's set aside for her. In the morning, she'd hand the building back over to the office employees and go about her day. No first responders were ever called, It's about the least stressful legitimate job I could ever imagine. I want this job. Where do I apply? Mr. Lanes Lambert says, I met someone recently who works as a part-time camp counselor. She mentioned they have an overnight guy. I was like, oh, a security guard? She said, not really. He shows up at 11 PM at night, sits in a chair, and goes to sleep. He wakes up and leaves at 7 AM. The owners are completely okay with this arrangement. He doesn't make much money doing it, but still. This basically describes every security guard in every heist movie ever. Translucent Emu says, my mum did something similar to help pull me through college. She was a nurse's aide and had a side gig where she would care for an old dude in his house at night. This basically meant putting him to bed and then going to sleep herself. Rarely did she have to actually do anything besides being there. Through this method, she worked literally 24/7 for a whole year. Where's My Chin says, I forget the exact circumstances, but a few years back, some religious group gathered a lot of momentum and followers, saying the world was going to end on a certain date. There was a group of atheists who opened a business that advertised that when the rapture happened and all the Christians went to heaven, they'll take care of all the raptured people's pets. A bunch of Christians signed contracts and paid non-refundable deposits. Then, surprise surprise, no rapture, and the atheist walked away with a good deal of cash. Brilliant in my opinion. Oh my god, does this count as a scam? Trees for the Fool says, I've known some girls to do some pretty niche sex work. One pair, roommates, have guys paid to come clean their apartment. As in, the guy gives them money, comes over and cleans for them. They get to berate and belittle the guys while cleaning. Which is doubly funny because they may be kinky, but they're both sweet young ladies in my experience. Never heard a mean word from either of them. Yeah, cause you have to pay for that. iCorny says, one of my friends is a cam girl, but no nudity or anything sexual on her part at all. She literally just leaves her webcams on, with multiple cameras at various locations throughout her house, even in the bathroom, but it's not facing the shower or the toilet, it's facing her mirror, so like, they watch her doing her makeup or brushing her teeth. While she does regular things at home, like watching TV or cooking dinner. People pay her thousands to leave it on as much as possible, even when she's not home or sleeping. Maybe it's a voyeurism type of fetish, I'm not really sure, but that's her main source of income. Our Cow says, knew a guy in college who created hundreds of fake accounts with stolen pictures of girls. He'd pretend to be these girls and talk to older, wealthy men on dating sites. And then find nude pictures of porn stars with similar body types and skin colors. But would crop the head off and send the nudes to the guys for money. It worked! He had a lot of customers. Japlonsky has an entire list. Professional cuddlers. Some individuals offer professional cuddling services where they get paid to cuddle and provide comfort to clients. Pet psychics. There are people who claim to communicate with pets telepathically, offering insight and advice to pet owners. Renting friends. Some companies offer services that allow people to rent friends for companionship, to attend events with them, or simply to have someone to talk to. Professional eaters. Competitive eaters participate in food challenges and contests to win prizes and sponsorship deals. Virtual real estate. People have bought and sold virtual real estate in online games and virtual worlds, often for real money. Bed testers. Certain companies hire individuals to test and review beds and mattresses for comfort and quality. Personal paparazzi. Some people offer services to follow others around, taking candid photos like paparazzi, but with the subject's consent. Sam Neill says, I went to college in a capital C college town. A friend of mine bought an old school bus, fixed it up, and took out all the seats. At the very end of semester, she'd drive around the neighborhood. That was the fancier side of off-campus living, and collect whatever the rich kids were throwing out before they moved/went home for the summer. Flat screen TVs, couches, computers, tables, It was wild to see what people chuck out and replace the next semester, rather than having to deal with getting a storage unit or moving themselves. Sold it all on Craigslist over the summer, or at the beginning of next semester, and made a killing! If you could have any of these jobs, which would you pick? Remember, I post new content every day, so subscribe for more juicy tea.